Hello, everyone. So we did Christianity and the Standard Development Goal 3 and 11, and it's by me. I'm Ariana. I have Paris and Andrew with me.
Hello.
I'm Paris. That's Andrew.
And I'm
Awesome.
Andrew, yes.
Okay, so the first sustainable development goal that we chose to do was sustainable development goal number 3, and it's good health and well-being. So the reason we chose this and why it connected to Christianity is because it connects to including mental health and physical health. Ariana, you go ahead.
Okay. So we're doing Standard Development Goal 3, as we just mentioned. We're using Tampa Bay opioid crisis, which is a drug that is an issue facing in Tampa Bay that pertains to physical well-being. Tampa Bay facing a large opioid crisis, estimated 1,540 people dying from opioid overdose. Overdoses rate in Tampa Bay area is 23 out of 100,000. That's a pretty high rate. It's also 9.75% higher than Florida state average of opioid usage, and 49.6% increase in usage from 2019 that we see in 2025. And finally, opioid usage is detrimental to a person's mental and physical health due to withdrawal effects as well as societal effects.
And then looking into Christianity in action for SDG 3. Let's first address the why they care. Christianity helps those in need, and people suffering from addictions fit that description. How they help Recovery Church provide a safe worship-based space where everyone is welcome, especially those recovering from addiction. Support sobriety and well-being while following the Bible and promoting health. SDG 3. Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance of Florida promotes equality, peace, and Christian values while leading efforts in aiding addiction recovery.
Let's stay on this slide really quick. I'd like to add another thing that I think is cool about the way that Christians take action for people recovering in the church, as well as the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance of Florida, is just the action of hope and grace that Christians like to provide others, not through themselves and just like how do you say it, encouraging statements, but a truth. We, as the Christians, believe that Jesus Christ is the one that provides hope and grace and joy. So because there is a external and you know unworldly person that can provide us so much greater good, it is just that gives people that don't, are recovering and don't understand, what's happening in their life, it gives them hope and grace that everything will um, be okay. So I think it's really cool that people struggling with addiction have the opportunity to reach out to Jesus Christ for um, a different kind of experience other than human help, because sometimes the human help feels almost impossible. So that's what I would like to add. So now we'll talk about the limitations that we have for the sustainable development goal number 3. So there's a stigma still alive that addictions are sins. And to add to that, this is just simply a again, it's a stigma. It's not really a truth. And I think because some people do think it is a sin, it holds them back from wanting to recover because they feel that they are unclean or not worthy. So it kind of limits their mind, and the Christian faith, there's the opposing side, Satan. So a lot of times Satan can influence the negative idea that God does not want to help us, so might as well continue to sin. So that's where that stigma comes from. And it's really sad that it's still alive, but it is definitely still something. So another limitation, it varies. There's a very variation of denominations, which can confuse people, just the different teachings of the church. There's a lack of evidence-based practices in institutions. Abstinence-only focus in programs poses challenge due to constantly variability and negative stigma. And I'm sorry, I can't see the last thing.
You want me to read it for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
The last one says, Bible says God is only way. Not all see that. That's all I could see off the.
Yeah, that was good.
So we
Okay.
have Sustainable Goal Development 11, which is sustainable cities and communities, which includes housing and infrastructure for all to use. And on the next slide, we are going to talk about a specific Tampa Bay crisis that it relates to Sustainable Development Goal 11 and what Christianity has to correlate with that and what they are doing specifically about. So for Sustainable Goal 11.3, we have affordable housing crisis in Tampa. So what does this mean? It means rent is rising fast, making rent for lower and places really high. Even so things that were used to be lower end because of the area or any other factor are now high. Renters need to make an average of $69,400 to afford rent, and that is in a normal, comfortable living situation. Rent in Tampa climbed 50% from 2019 to 2023. Rent and housing prices are on the rise, but there is no wage growth. Minimum wage is not enough to afford basic living needs, even on a 40 an hour. And finally, this increases homeless rate and affects persons' mental health and physical well-being.
Perfect. Moving on to the next slide. Looking at here, it says how Christianity is helping SDG 11. For the first one here, I'm seeing, if you guys want to correct me on this, I might say it wrong. Metropolitan, is that correct?
Yeah.
With why they care, though.
Yeah. Well, looking at the why, so why they care, start on that one. The why they care, call to sustain people in need, call for all people to live a joyous life in Christ. Obviously, with Christ, it's brings out the joy in life with people. It's very important, and that's why people care about it a lot. Caring for the vulnerable, including the homeless, as well with why they care with the joyous in Christ, is obviously caring for the homeless people. And obviously it's very has a huge effect on that, and can be very vulnerable. And then moving on to the next bullet point here, I see is Christian-based nonprofit providing housing and services to the poor following Jesus' mission. I believe Jesus wants to obviously help the people in need, and Christians are based on nonprofits providing housing and services to the poor. Next one I'm looking at here is promote self sufficiency in community, SDG 11 by easing suffering and building housing. And then the next one here I'm seeing is Catholic charities, sorry, of the Diocese
of St. Pete. Yeah.
of St. Peter.
Diocese, yeah.
Perfect. Offers financial help and shelter to those in need, living out biblical teachings, like I said, with Jesus' mission. Very good point right there. This supports SDG 11 by fighting homelessness and rising housing costs through expanding services. So that'll be on that one.
All right, so now I will just tell you guys a little bit about the limitations to SDG 11. So a lot of it is morality questions, just the financial situation of individuals. Financial barriers pose challenge for groups to fund homes. And lastly, it says a limitation would be Bible might emphasize help, but also self-sufficiency. Again, these are just potential limitations, especially easier to understand. sorry. I guess I really mean, as a Christian, I see the goodness in how the church is doing these things, but I also see how these limitations do apply to people who don't believe and are not believers. So they're very understandable limitations.
But add one more thing. Self-sufficiency can be very difficult for people with certain mental illnesses. And as we mentioned for SDG 11, in limitations for evidence-based barriers, being the institution that they are, it would be harder to promote the self-sufficiency, specifically when you would need the evidence-based practice to get there. For further exploration, we decided to go the route of questions. So can churches go beyond charity to influence housing and health policy? I believe they could. It depends obviously on funding that they have, as well as any financial limitations that they have. How can faith communities reduce stigma around addiction and mental health? That starts internally with their own organization, and that can only be fixed through education and normalization. Is the current messaging inclusive or mostly for churchgoers? How can it expand? I could say that they are trying, especially like if, for example, Metropolitan Ministries is trying to reach out. They don't necessarily have a religious requirement. However, a lot of them do incorporate that specific religion into their institution. So that could pose some challenges for people with religious trauma, as well as maybe uncertainty or people who just don't choose to follow that religion. Secular groups joining Christianity orgs for a larger impact would be a great idea for starters. If you have two eyes is better than one, two sets of eyes is better than one set of eyes. So having all of them together could reduce stigma. They could learn from other organizations, and the other orgs can learn from them in practices or what they decide to do. For example, the Metropolitan Ministries has volunteer opportunities, encouraging young youth to volunteer for school requirements. A lot of schools, public schools specifically, have volunteer requirements, and they do offer a wide range of opportunities from soup kitchens to gardening, to help with people who are homeless and are struggling.
Yeah, and just small thing to add to that, the Catholic churches also do something. There's a lot here in Tampa, actually, especially St. Mary's of Perpetual Help church downtown does a lot of soup kitchen as well. So that would be a Tampa source as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Correct.
these are our sources. Thank you guys so much for listening to us on our topic of Christianity and the opioid crisis in Tampa Bay. So
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
thank you. Fire! We're so smart.
Dude, I'm
Wow.
so sorry, guys. I didn't know we were gonna. I thought strictly we were just gonna read them. I didn't know we're adding on to things.
No, we weren't.